Hey, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you're at. Thank you so much for joining us for today's live stream. Super excited for this one. This is perhaps, I think, I'd have to run the numbers on this again, but I think our most popular workshop ever at Tofu in terms of signups. So I'm super excited to jam with y'all. Today, we're going to be talking about leveling up. So this workshop is focused on helping writers move into more strategic work and critically escaping the race to the bottom. We'll talk a little bit more about what that means and some of the factors affecting the market right now. Before we get into it, I do have a couple of requests. Number one, if you can hear my voice right now, please hit that like and subscribe button. Liking the video is going to help other folks find it. It's going to please the YouTube algorithm gods. The subscription is for you. You're going to join us on our upcoming workshops. We've got some absolute amazing guests coming up, all kinds of folks who are going to share knowledge on content marketing and SEO topics. So hit that subscribe button, join us for our upcoming workshops. We have one about every month, sometimes multiple per month. So we'd love to see you there. The next thing I want to mention is Tofu. If you are not already a member of Tofu, I would like to invite you to become one. It is 100% free. It is our free community. We just hit over 3,000 members. It is a community of freelancers, agency owners, and marketers, folks who are primarily focused on content marketing, writing, and SEO. It's a free Slack community. We've got all kinds of awesome discussions going on in there, Q&As, people getting feedback, asking questions, support for when times are not so great, perhaps, as well as work opportunities. So there's a lot of stuff going on there. It's an awesome community. We have amazing minds inside the community sharing knowledge and answering questions. So if you are not, again, already a member of Tofu, go to jointofu.co, check out our brand new website, become a member. It's 100% free. We'd love to have you. The third thing I need from you is pop into the comments. You've already got some folks in there. Say hello in the chat here. Let me know who's joining, where you're from, and that way I can see who's on the stream today. All right. Yeah, thanks. Good to see you all. Travis, Kelly, Katie. Hey, y'all. Okay, so before I get into this, I just want to mention something, which is that if you, as a writer right now, feel like things are tough, feel like maybe you're struggling, things are a little harder than they need to be or should be. First of all, I'll just say you're not alone. As I said, 300 people signed up for this workshop today, which tells me that there are a lot of folks feeling those same vibes right now. So just know that it's not you. It doesn't reflect poorly on your skills. There are a lot of things happening in the market right now that are affecting content and writing work in general. And we're going to dive into some of that today, but we're also going to talk most importantly about how do you get through that? What do you do? How do you sort of protect your own career, and what moves should you be making right now to try to escape that reality? So let's dive into it. Leveling up, how to escape the race to the bottom. Let me just do a real quick intro here. I won't spend a lot of time. I'm sure most of y'all know me, but my name is Tyler. I've spent about 15 years in content marketing. I worked as a freelancer after quitting my last full-time role, and then ultimately that transitioned into starting Optimist, which is the content marketing agency. We've grown that. We have about 25 team members with about 15 clients and about $1.5 million in revenue. We worked with amazing companies. We've been very fortunate to work with companies like Gusto and Superhuman and ZoomInfo, HelloSign, etc. I won't list them all. And in 2018, we started Top of the Funnel. So Top of the Funnel is the free community that I mentioned. And as an extension of that, we've started hosting these workshops and live streams and Q&As and all this good content really geared at helping other folks in the industry, helping people figure out, sharing the knowledge and the lessons that we've learned over the years. And so that's why you're here today. So what are we going to cover in today's workshop? Number one, we're gonna sort of face the reality head on. So we're gonna look at some of the trends that are happening. Again, why you might be feeling those headwinds right now, and some of the insights that we can learn from that data. And then really the focus of today's workshop is the 5 paths to leveling up towards becoming a strategist. So for each of these paths, we're going to dig in. We're going to talk about the trends that are sort of supporting that path. We're going to talk about what that path entails. And for each path, we will have one step that you can take today to begin the process of moving in that direction. Hava took a break from watching Bridgerton. Wow, I'm honored. Thank you. All right, so that's the agenda for today. Let's face the facts here with the reality facing writers at the moment. Again, if you're feeling headwinds, if you're feeling like things are more difficult than they used to be, you're not alone. Obviously, perhaps the biggest trend that we have right now is that as a writer in particular, we are competing with free. Okay. So chat GPT, AI in general, has sort of shifted the market, and it's created sort of a whole new class of content that is free. Now, I'm not saying chat GPT can replace you or can write as well as you, but the reality is that many companies are relying on AI to write content or to do a lot of the work that goes into content creation. And because of that, they're simply spending less money. Many companies are spending less money, not every company. Many companies are spending less money on content creation, including hiring writers. And so this is a set from SEMrush, where 51% of these small businesses that were surveyed basically said they spend zero additional dollars creating content beyond the cost of an AI tool that they use to generate that content. Just to clarify the point here, they did not, this doesn't account for like in-house folks spending time editing or reviewing. So there might still be some work happening here. But the point being that they're not hiring writers specifically to write or edit that content. And so obviously that leads to less work overall in the market. The second big thing that we're seeing, of course, is that there's competition, right? As sort of the other side of that coin is as there's less work going around, that means there's more writers competing for every open role. So this is perhaps even an understatement to say, over 100 applications is a lot. Reality is I've hired writers many times over the last few years, and I can tell you, it's not 100 applications, it's hundreds of applications, if not thousands of people applying for pretty much every role that we've posted. So there's just a sea of writers looking for work. And of course, the inverse of that is that there are simply fewer roles, right? So we're also seeing trends around layoffs and job cuts and those kind of things happening. So there are more writers applying for fewer roles, and then also competing against free. So again, if you're feeling the pressure as a writer right now, you're not alone. You're not being deceived. That is actually the case, right? There are many macro factors that are impacting the market and just making life harder right now. So let's talk about how and why we want to get out of that universe, right? So the whole idea behind this workshop, why we want to level up, is because right now, because of all these factors, content writing feels like a race to the bottom, right? If you're competing against a million people for a job, there's pressure to lower your prices, to lower your standards. There's all this stuff happening that's just making it harder to make a living as a writer. And so what I'm hearing from writers, I've talked to hundreds of writers over the last few weeks, and what I'm hearing is, people are fighting for every scrap of work right now. They're dreading the day that clients decide to replace them with AI. And frankly, that they are also seeing sort of a lack of strategy in general that's out there right now. And the work that they do have is sort of mindless, like just cranking out articles. And so what they really are looking for is, how do I get out of this? How do I escape this reality and sort of better shape my career for the future? And so what that leads us to ultimately is strategy, right? So strategic work, in my opinion, is sort of the way out as a writer, right? So moving from being a content creator to being someone who directs, builds, manages a strategy is, I think, only going to become increasingly important, and is also more of a much safer long-term bet. We have all kinds of data that talks about the importance of strategy, even as AI cracks into things, does certain tasks, takes over certain roles. The role of humans as strategists is still critically important. The most effective companies from a content marketing perspective have people dedicated to strategy. And so that's what we're going to be focused on today is how do you go from being a writer to becoming a strategist? How do you use that to sort of future-proof your career and level up your prospects? So 5 paths. We're going to talk about 5 paths. I'm going to try to get through all of these as quick as I possibly can because we do have a lot of content to cover here today. If you have questions, feel free to pop those into the chat. Okay, so the 5 paths that we're going to cover, each of these is going to be essentially a step towards strategic work, right? So most of these paths are not going to, it's not a light switch. You're not going to flip the switch and become a strategist tomorrow, but it's going to help you take steps to build the skills that you need to move into more strategic work. So the 5 paths we're going to talk about: new content formats, SEO, content ops, reporting and analysis, and then we're going to talk about the prospect of just diving straight into strategy work, and we'll cover that when we get to path 5. So you might be wondering, why am I not talking about AI or prompt engineering, or, focusing on thought leadership or ghostwriting, or, just creating better content, different content formats? The reality of this is that, in my opinion, most of these paths are not truly like a safer alternative, right? They're not defensible over the long term, because what we're thinking about is what can AI do today, and we're not thinking about what can AI do tomorrow, right? So if your plan to escape AI, or to sort of outrun AI, is to simply write better content or write different types of content, the reality of that is that AI might be able to do that tomorrow, for all we know, right? So the litmus test that I always use when I'm considering, is this sort of a defensible long-term path, is what happens if GPT-5 drops tomorrow, right? Could GPT-5 theoretically do this work tomorrow? If so, then I probably want to choose a different path, a different strategy, because it's not necessarily going to work out over the long term. Okay, so all that said, let's dive into path 1: new content formats. So the good news is that there's a lot of exciting things happening in content and in marketing right now. One of the big ones is that there's a shift in consumption happening. So folks, specifically Gen Z, but not only Gen Z, are finding information in new ways, right? They're finding information through new types of content, social media, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, the litany of different channels and formats that now exist out there. And so from a marketing perspective, from a business perspective, that presents a new opportunity. From your perspective, it also presents an opportunity, right? So there is a path to leveling up again from a writer into strategic work via these new channels. Now, I'm not saying that you just pivot your focus and go into these new channels and that's going to protect you. What I'm saying is that by learning these skills, by focusing on some of these new channels and formats, you can develop the skills that you need to do any kind of strategic work. And so the path would be, first of all, start by studying creators, learning these new channels and formats, creating your own content, learning what works. And that's going to help you, again, develop those strategic skills. So figuring out, hey, how do I build my own content plan? What kind of content should I be creating and why? What are the analytics telling me? All of these skills are going to be critical to any kind of strategic work, regardless of the channel or the format. So as you sort of build your own brand in one of these channels or formats, you're going to be able to apply those same strategic skills to other channels. So whether that's SEO or YouTube or TikTok or whatever it is, right? A lot of those skills are going to be transferable. So it's going to help you kind of level up your overall skill set. A couple of content formats. This is not exhaustive by any means, but video, short form, long form video, audio, and podcast is a big one. Another option here would be like platform native content. So 0-click content, as it's called. Shout out to Amanda at SparkToro. Any of these, I think, are sort of a viable path here. So basically, the idea here is you're going to invest in creating your own content in one of these formats as a sort of self-serve way of learning the strategic skills that you need to take on more strategic roles. There are a couple barriers to entry here. Number one is going to be technical skills. So depending on which format you choose, you might need to learn how to edit videos or edit audio, those types of things. That's not an insurmountable barrier by any means. There are tools and they're incredibly easy to use these days. So don't let that be a blocker. Number two, these are new formats, right? They're new formats or new technologies. They're going to change and evolve. So you're going to have to kind of keep up with those changes. And number three is, as you're trying to transfer those skills to other types of work and specifically paying client work, you're going to have to build a track record, right? So you're going to have to be able to say, hey, look, I've done this. Here's the success that I've seen. Here's what I did to get there. Taking one step. Okay. So let's say this is the path for you. You decided, hey, you know what? I'm going to take that path. I'm going to build my own brand, create my own content and use that as sort of proof and a proving ground for my own strategic skills. The step here is really simple. What I want you to do is I want you to go out today. I want you to create an account. If you don't already have one on whatever the platform is that you're going to choose one, right? Whether it's a podcast or TikTok or LinkedIn, whatever it is. And I want you to create your first piece of content and launch it. It's going to suck. It will probably suck. Maybe, I don't know, maybe there's some savants in here that will nail it on the first try. But if you've never done the content before, it's going to suck. That's okay, right? The first step to learning a new skill, learning one of these new formats is just doing the work, just doing it the first time, seeing how it performs, learning from that failure, and repeating the process. So take that one step today. If this is the path that you're most interested in, I want you to create that account, create your first piece of content, push it out into the world, whether it's a TikTok or a podcast or a YouTube video or a LinkedIn post, whatever it is, dive right into it. Path 2 is SEO. SEO is probably going to be the most familiar option for folks on this call. I'm guessing a lot of you all do at least SEO adjacent work. The good news about SEO is that, while there are all of these emerging channels, there are SEO still does numbers, right? So organic search drives about 30% of all website traffic on the internet, according to the study from SEMrush. And if we remove direct traffic, it actually makes up about 69% of traffic that's not direct, so non-direct traffic. So it's a huge chunk of the traffic. Obviously, SEO is still very valuable to many companies. It is the primary channel for a lot of businesses. And so the path here is pretty straightforward, right? Essentially, what we want to do is sort of learn these SEO strategy skills and then bring those back to be able to apply them to our work as writers to sort of add that strategic layer to the work that we're doing. So you start by learning the SEO principles. You apply those SEO fundamentals, ideally to a specific website, whether it's your own website or a client website. From there, I think the key transition here is that you learn how to sort of audit and review websites, because what that's going to do is going to teach you to understand what those needs and those opportunities are in existing strategies, right? So you can sort of analyze a website and say, hey, this website is missing this. And so then when you start to think about building a strategy from scratch, you can sort of reverse engineer based on what you're seeing in the market, seeing the gaps that you identify in those reviews. You'll be able to better prescribe strategies that don't have those gaps, right? So you'll be a smarter strategist because you've started by sort of auditing or analyzing existing strategies and existing websites. There's a lot that goes into SEO. As you probably know, this is probably not a comprehensive list, but everything from keyword research and on-page optimization to crawl budget and schema and EEAT, all of these are factors involved in SEO. You do not need to become an expert in every single one of these to be good at SEO. Just to clarify that up front, that is one thing that I know scares a lot of folks away from SEO, is that there are just so many things involved in it. Most people who do SEO for a living and get paid to do it are not experts at every single one of these things, let alone the full list of all of the SEO things. So do not think that you have to be an expert in every single one of these to pursue this path. That being said, that is obviously the number one barrier to entry, is that there is an enormous pool of knowledge. If you're starting at zero or near zero, it feels like a giant mountain, right? It feels like you're never going to possibly learn all of the things that you need to know. That's okay. Again, we'll talk about the step that you can take here, but don't let that necessarily dissuade you from exploring this path. So the second barrier here is that it does require some technical and data skills. If that's not your jam, it might be a tough path for you. A lot of spreadsheet work, a lot of analysis, those types of things go into SEO. Number 3 is it's a bit of a moving target, right? We've talked already a little bit about this, but with AI and everything going on, Google I/O this week, SEO is changing. It is evolving. That being said, the fundamentals of SEO are pretty much unchanged, right? There are changes in tactics and sometimes in the strategies that people are using, but a lot of the fundamentals still apply. And I think my personal opinion is that they will still apply for years to come. So there's a bit of a moving target there, but I don't think it's something that should dissuade you. So one step to pursue this path, super simple. I want you to take a free course on SEO. Okay. And neither of these options is going to make you an SEO master by any means, but it's going to help you understand all of those different factors and those different facets that we just talked about. So what goes into SEO? What do these things mean? What are they? Right? Either of these courses covers the majority of those topics. It's not going to be comprehensive. You're not going to be a master of SEO, but it's going to help you better understand all of the pieces to the puzzle and come out of that with a much better understanding of A, if it's the path that you want, and B, which areas you want to delve deeper into. Two recommendations. One is called SEO Principles from SEMrush. It's about an hour long. The second one is SEO Training Course from Ahrefs. It's about 2 hours. Again, both of these are great primers for learning SEO. just go ahead and Google them. You'll find them in a second. Shout out to SEO still, by the way. And that will be a great step for you to take if you're interested in this path. Path 3 is content ops. Okay, so this is one I think a lot of people actually don't talk about or even think about. So let's talk about content ops. The reality is that creating content is hard, right? But not just because it's hard creatively. It's also hard in terms of the execution, the planning, the workflows, the process, all the stuff that happens behind the scenes. This is a list from a survey about the top marketing challenges, content marketing challenges. About half of these are operational, right? It's not, hey, our content's not good enough. It's how do I get a subject matter expert to talk to me? How do I plan these out? How do I connect the dots behind the scenes? There's a big need for folks who understand content ops. And more importantly, or more poignantly for our discussion today, there's also a path here through content ops to get into more strategic work, right? So if you think about strategy and ops, there's a reason why most people lump those two things together, right? Because your strategy determines your operations and vice versa. Your operations will determine in large part the strategy that you're pursuing. And so the path here is to focus on the content ops part, learn workflows and process, become a master of content ops, and then apply that ops knowledge to help improve the strategy. Once you can improve the strategy or at least improve specific tactics within that strategy, that is going to help you get the full picture so that you can move into work where you're actually mapping out a strategy or building a strategy from scratch. So operations, again, I think is sort of an underrated path. There's a big demand for it, but there are, again, some barriers here. I'll talk about those in just a second. But first, just to give you a picture of sort of what's involved, what all goes into content ops, this is a little bit of a catch-all, right? So there's a lot of things that could be considered content ops, but the main things that I think about, this graphic from Gather Content, I think encapsulates it well, right? It's basically people, processes, and technology. So that includes things like workflows, scheduling, project management, reporting, technology and integrations. All this stuff is sort of part of content ops. And again, this is probably not exhaustive. But the barriers to entry are, first of all, that there are a few dedicated roles for this, right? Most teams do not have a content ops person per se. Someone handles content ops jobs or tasks, but that's not necessarily their primary or only role. So that does pose a bit of a barrier. That being said, that does also present an opportunity for you as a writer to sort of extend your skill set and extend the value that you're providing to clients by taking on some of those roles. Number two, there are a lot of tech stacks to learn, just a lot of tools, right? We all know there's a bajillion software tools out there, from Asana to ClickUp to Trello to whatever else, right? You don't have to learn all of them. In fact, I would say don't try to learn all of them. Try to sort of pick your lane there, choose the tech that is most comfortable for you, that you have the most experience with, and become a master of that particular thing. I think that's going to be a huge one. The third thing that I'm going to talk about here is that this is a major leap for writers, right? Not everyone is going to be love operations. It's super detail oriented. It can feel very tedious for some people, myself included. So you've got to have sort of that mindset going into it. You have to sort of fall in love with the nuance of operations. So again, if that's not your jam, maybe this isn't the path for you. One of the other 5, hopefully. But just know going into it that it is going to be a pretty big leap. It's generally not creative work in sort of the traditional sense. So a lot of your writing skills may not directly apply here. That being said, I still think it's a great path for folks for whom this could be a fit. Take one step. This one I think is perhaps one of my favorites. What I want you to do is I want you to sit down today and I want you to review a content workflow that you're part of or have been. And I want you to just exhaustively document every single step in that process. Every handoff, every button click, every whatever. I want you to document every single step. And then I want you to document all of the people involved. This gets handed off from this person to that person. It goes back to this person, every single step there. And I want you to also document the technology that's being used. Where does this thing live in each stage of the workflow? Is it going to Asana? Is it going to Trello? Is it in Google Docs? Whatever it is, right? Wherever it lives throughout your workflow, I want you to map out every single one of those steps. And then I want you to put down your pencil and take a step back and start thinking about ways that you could improve that process. I would bet 99% of the workflows that you are involved in or have been involved in the past have gaps or problems or inefficiencies, ways that you could improve the process to create a better output, make it more efficient, make it, save time. There's a lot of ways that you can use these ops skill sets to improve the overall output of a content team. All right, so that is content ops. Let's talk about path 4, which is reporting and analysis. All right, reporting and analysis. Data drives effective creative work. When we think about sort of the life cycle of content marketing, it generally starts with strategy and it ends with reporting and analysis. But reporting, analysis, data feeds back into the machine, right? You use that data, use that reporting to shape your strategy. So this path to strategic work is sort of starting at that endpoint and saying, okay, if I can understand what the data is saying, then that's going to help me figure out the strategy or inform the strategy. And that's sort of my route to getting into strategic work. Again, this is a survey from Content Marketing Institute. The top 3 attributes of top performing content marketing teams are basically really good data, having good data and reporting, right? So knowing your audience, setting goals, and measuring your output, because again, that all gets fed back into the machine that drives the actual strategy. The path here is, as I just sort of mentioned, right? You're going to learn the analytics and reporting. You're going to understand which tactics are most effective, which is then going to help you steer the strategy. From there, you're going to probably have to pick up some additional like SEO and research skills to actually build a strategy from scratch. But you'll be sort of within throwing distance of being able to actually build a strategy from scratch as you understand kind of the reporting and the numbers and the data side of it. Let's talk about what's involved in this. The high level, again, not exhaustive, but what's generally involved in this path. First of all, you have to be able to understand the company and team goals. Pretty much all reporting and analytics starts with what are we trying to accomplish? What are the goals? What are the KPIs? Identifying key metrics, which may not be obvious, right? So if your goal is sales, there are a bunch of metrics that sort of roll up into that overall goal, and you've got to be able to identify what those are. You got to learn the data and analytics tools. Obviously, most reporting, most data is going to come out of some kind of a tool, whether it's GA4 or Mixpanel or whatever. A lot of this is also building custom reports and dashboards. Sometimes you can pull data directly out of a tool. A lot of times you've got to sort of build some kind of a custom solution for how you want to view or analyze that data. And number 5, perhaps the most overlooked thing in all of content marketing and SEO is explaining the data. Okay, so I think the hardest thing for people to grok is throwing a spreadsheet at someone is not helpful. You have to be able to present that data, explain it, unpack what story it's telling, and sort of the underlying narrative that you can see through that data. So being able to actually analyze it and synthesize it into some kind of an actionable finding. All that said, there are, of course, a couple of barriers here as well. Number 1, data skills. Not everyone here is going to be interested in data. If you hate math and spreadsheets, this is probably not the path for you. Number 2, on a lot of teams, this is a limited scope kind of thing, right? So they might hire somebody to come in and do, build them a reporting dashboard one time, and then, they just use that moving forward. So because of that, sometimes this is, less about, there's less recurring revenue opportunity here for some teams. That being said, most reporting is cyclical, is recurring. But the report itself is usually like a one-time process. We build this dashboard and then we use that dashboard every month to report on our metrics, that kind of thing. All that being said, this is another one that's like a great like single step out of writing, right? So as soon as you can go, hey, I'm a writer, but also I can help with the analytics and the reporting side of this, that's a huge value add to almost every single team. Again, very few teams, interestingly enough, have dedicated analysts or folks who are doing reporting. So a lot of the folks who end up doing this work are not experts, right? And they could use help building better dashboards, analyzing the data more effectively, all the stuff that is going to help make the strategy better. One step here, really simple, is learn GA4. I know everybody, it is universally reviled. I am aware of that, but you can use that to your advantage because everyone else hates GA4. If you can get comfortable at least with it and become an expert on it, that is, again, a huge value add that you can bring to any team. One thing that a lot of folks don't know is there's actually a Google Analytics demo account provided by Google. It's 100% free. All you got to do, sign up for your GA4 account, search Flood It demo account, you will find this demo account. It's live data from a real website. So again, if you don't have GA access to any websites or any client websites, that's totally fine. You can start learning GA4 on your own using the demo account. Just Google Flood It demo. There's documentation on Google that's going to show you exactly how to set everything up, get it in your account so that you can actually analyze the reports. And then of course, you're going to have to learn the actual platform. So two recommendations there, two options. One is the Google Analytics 4 course on Skillshop. This is sort of like the official Google endorsed training on GA4. One quick note, which is there is an old course called the GA Academy. You do not want that course. That's for Universal Analytics, the old version. It's not going to be relevant to GA4. The second one, I want to give a shout out to our friend Bree Anderson from Beast Analytics. She has some amazing courses on GA4. She has, first of all, a general course that's going to just teach you all of the ins and outs, how to set up custom reports, do all of this stuff. And she also has a course called GA4 for SEO. So it's sort of specifically focused on measuring and understanding organic search traffic, keywords, all of that stuff, and all of the data that you can glean via GA4. So that is step 4, reporting and analytics. Let's talk about step 5, or path 5, I should say. Path 5 is strategy work, right? So as I've been going through this, you might have been thinking like, hey man, this all sounds like really roundabout. Like none of these are going to, get me in the door on strategy tomorrow. Absolutely right. There are not a lot of paths to jump straight from writing into strategy. A lot of it is incremental. It's learning the specific skills that will ultimately lead you into that role. Path 5 is a little different. So let's talk about how you dive directly into the strategy work today or tomorrow. Jumping right in. So I've built a course that's basically designed to help you do this. And before I talk about the course, I want to explain a lot of backstory about why I created this and what it's designed to do and how it will help you. But the quick upshot here is that this course is going to help you learn how to create a fully formed SEO content strategy for any client, any industry from scratch. So the whole premise here is that you start from zero. It gets you straight into the actual strategy work so that you can do the hands-on stuff that you'll need to actually do that work for paying clients. So again, before I talk at all about the course, let's talk about why I created this and sort of how it's designed. So as I just mentioned, one of the things that you probably recognize as we're going through this workshop is that all of these other paths are sort of indirect, right? They're a step towards strategy work, but it's not going to get you directly into doing strategic work tomorrow. It's going to just help you build the skills that you need to take on that kind of work eventually. And that's the way that most paths are going to work, right? There is not usually a single step that you can take to get right into strategy. I tried to design this course to make that possible. And so basically it sort of throws you right in the deep end, like, hey, here's the actual process that we're going to do. And then the idea is once you've learned the process, even if you're not a master of every single step, you can then work backwards to fill in some of those gaps that you might have in your knowledge, right? So if you go through this workflow and you can build a strategy, but maybe you don't always have a full understanding of, the analytics or some of the other parts that go into it, you can fill in those gaps. But the point being that you sort of take off the training wheels, you learn how to build a strategy, and then work backwards rather than trying to do this one step at a time or cobble together a bunch of independent skills that will ultimately lead you to this final goal. So the path to strategy via this course, very simple. You're going to understand the proven framework, right? So some of the underlying theory is obviously a prerequisite here. Most importantly, you're going to get the hands-on experience, right? So you're actually going to do the work and you're going to build actual deliverables. So actually going through the process of building a strategy from scratch, using that as a way to sort of build your confidence and get the experience that you need to actually do the work. If a client comes and knocks on your door tomorrow, that's what you're going to get from the course. And ultimately, the reason why I designed this course is that there's this sort of fundamental barrier to entry for strategy. So I've talked to, as I said, hundreds of writers. Lots of them, most of them, almost all of them are interested in getting into some kind of a strategic role, but they're simply not. They don't know how to get there, right? They don't know what steps to take. And more importantly, they don't know how to get work doing strategy if they haven't already done work doing strategy. And so that's what I'm calling the chicken and egg paradox, right? Which is the fundamental barrier for most writers trying to level up. you need work experience to get the job, but you need the job to get the work experience, right? So how do you resolve this paradox? That's, again, why I built this course, was how do we sort of short circuit that process to give folks a chance to get that hands-on experience that they can then use to parlay that into actual paid work with demonstrable expertise. So the way that we overcome that paradox, again, is really simple. You learn the proven system for building a content strategy from scratch. You dive right into the deep end. You get the hands-on experience. You go through the process and you create actual deliverables that you can show to that future potential client. That's the way the course is laid out. That's what it's going to teach you how to do. The basic setup of the course, there's 10 modules. There are 20 individual lessons. The most important components here are there are 25 over-the-shoulder walkthroughs. So these are literal videos of me going step-by-step through the actual process so that you can follow along with the 3 real-world practice clients. So you can actually follow the videos step-by-step, go through the process, and come out of it with 3 specific example deliverables of strategies that you've actually built for real businesses. And then there are 10 bonus lessons and resources also included. What are you going to learn in this course? The specifics. So again, the main thing that you're going to take away from this is you're going to learn how to create a fully formed SEO content strategy for any client in any industry from scratch. The way that you're going to learn how to do that is you're going to start by learning this pizza framework. So the pizza framework is the workflow and the process that we use internally at Optimist with dozens of clients over the last 8 years to drive 10x growth with SEO and content. You're going to learn step-by-step workflows for doing everything from onboarding clients to unpacking the product, defining problems, building topic clusters, classifying and planning content, prioritizing topics. Again, this is really built to be comprehensive, end-to-end, start from zero, end with a content plan. The pizza framework, let me just talk to you a little bit about what that entails. I use this graphic because I love that it looks like pizza. This is sort of a visual representation. The course, of course, delves much deeper into sort of the reason why we call it the pizza framework and what these graphics actually represent. But the key thing to know here is that this is the strategy that we use with our clients. So clients like HelloSign, where we drove 1,200% growth, or Glide, where we also drove 1,200% growth in about 12 months. So this is a proven framework, and that's really essential because the other challenge that folks run into when they're trying to move into strategy work is, let's say a client gives you a chance, right? And they say, you know what, I know you've never done strategy work before, but let's give it a shot. I'll hire you to do it. Do you actually know what you're doing? Right? I think that's the other thing is like, it sounds great in theory, but the reality is that, once you have to actually execute the work, what you really want is a proven system, is a step-by-step workflow that you can follow that has driven demonstrable results for clients in the past. And so that's what the pizza framework is going to give you. It's going to give you that step-by-step process that you can follow, again, for any client in any industry. There are use cases and examples for B2B, B2C, different types of businesses included in the course. And again, the most important thing in my opinion is that this course is going to teach you both theory and practice. Okay. So it's not just a bunch of high level, here's how stuff should work, or here's, a pretty picture of a framework. The majority of this course is step-by-step tactical walkthrough videos. It's going to show you exactly how to do stuff. You're going to get 3 real-world practice clients so that you can actually execute this stuff on your own. So the course is created for content writers who are ready to level up, stand out, earn more money. You're going to learn the framework, you're going to build deliverables, and you're going to have demonstrable expertise and practical experience. Here's the offer. Okay. So I'm doing a special offer only for this workshop. I'm literally not posting this anywhere else on the internet. You're going to get 36 hours. So tomorrow at midnight, this offer is going to expire. You can purchase the course in one of 2 ways. One, you can directly purchase it. That's obviously going to unlock all of the modules, the over-the-shoulder walkthroughs, the hands-on projects, the bonus resources. Normally $299, you're going to save $100. So it's going to be $197. The other option is that you can join Mofu. So Mofu is our subscription tier. First of all, you'll get full access to the 6-figure strategist. So everything that you get if you purchase the course directly, but you're also going to get access to all of the other perks of Mofu, which first of all includes a library of lessons, templates, and systems to help you grow your business. Those resources are worth about $4,000 individually. So you're going to get access to all of that whole library. You're going to get access to a private community monthly live networking and Q&A calls. And perhaps most importantly, you'll be able to get real-time feedback. So as you're going through this course, as you're building strategies, as you're looking for clients, as you're working with clients, if you want to get feedback from experienced folks, freelancers and agency owners who have done this work for clients for years, Mofu is going to give you access to those folks. That is $99 a month, but with your discount, it'll be $65. Okay, so if you want to take advantage of this offer, again, this expires at midnight on Friday. That's tomorrow, so you've only got one day. What you're going to do is you're going to go to bit.ly/levelupsfs. That's all lowercase. There's a link in the description. It's probably easier than trying to type it in. So just hit the link in the video description, and you just use the coupon code LEVELUP, and that's going to get you this discount on either option. So whether you choose to purchase the course directly or become a member of Mofu, same coupon code, you'll be able to get that discount. Okay, y'all, that is the workshop for today. I want to answer questions about the course, about strategy work in general, about any of the paths that I covered. I'm going to try to run through some of the chat here and see what questions y'all have. Thanks for pointing this out, Ref. Sorry for not explaining that. Yeah, so this is $65 for life. What I mean by that is that it's not like a one-time discount on your first month. It's you will lock in that price at $65 per month for as long as you're a member. So you don't have to, you're not locked into Mofu for life, but you will have that price for as long as you are a member. Thanks for pointing that out. Okay, so let me scroll through the chat here. Feel free to drop your questions in here. Once again, this is not just about the course. I'm happy to answer questions about anything related to leveling up, strategy, etc. How to get a head start as a freelance content writer. We can maybe talk about this a little bit. Obviously, this is sort of, I think, one step behind kind of where what we're focused on for this workshop. But I am happy to talk about this if that's kind of the stage that you're at. Travis was asking about making video for LinkedIn. I think that's a great idea. Again, I think that this is I'm assuming referring to the first path of exploring these new content formats. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter which format or which channel you choose. I think the key thing there is that you're sort of getting the hands-on experience, right? You're doing the work and you're analyzing the results. So sort of put yourself in the client's seat, so to speak, and say, okay, if I were paying someone to do this work, what would it look like? What would I expect from them? And how would I expect them to make decisions and be strategic and thoughtful about the content they're creating, all of that stuff. So again, I think any format, any channel can work for that particular path. The idea is, build a strategy, be strategic, be consistent, do the work over and over again, build your channel. And again, kind of, the proof is in the pudding, I think, in terms of that particular path. What do you mean? Oh, by direct versus non-direct traffic. So this is referring to the SEMrush graphic, looking at SEO. Direct traffic is basically just refers to any traffic where someone, essentially comes directly to your website rather than clicking a link to your website from another source. So, for instance, direct traffic would be if I just typed in, google.com into my browser and went directly there. That's direct traffic. So that graphic was basically just showing that like the majority of traffic is direct, but by far and away the biggest source of traffic that we can actually attribute to a specific source, a specific channel, is organic search. It's also worth noting that direct traffic is sort of a catch-all. So if Google Analytics basically, or whatever analytics tool you're using, doesn't know where the traffic came from, it's generally going to bucket it as direct. So a lot of traffic that isn't really direct falls into that bucket anyway. So Gordon was saying that SEO may be complicated, but some of the principles are easy to grasp. And I'm glad to hear that, man. I do think, I think once you get into the sort of the fundamentals and you sort of understand the underlying theory behind the ranking factors and that kind of stuff, again, the North Star at the end of the day, for the most part, is user experience, right? Making content that people actually want, that provides value for actual humans. That is going to get you, 50% of the way there, I think, in terms of understanding SEO and what is important. Let's see. Hava was saying, SEMrush has a bunch of beginner-friendly courses for free. Yeah, again, if you're interested in that SEO path specifically, SEMrush has a great course that I mentioned, SEO Principles. Ahrefs also has a great free course, SEO training. Either one of those is great. I think both of those companies actually have sort of a library of courses and resources that will teach you the basics of SEO, and then let you kind of delve deeper into specific topics or facets of SEO that you're most interested in. Um, how is it possible to get into content strategy without writing a lot? Navin, great question. Let me take a step back and maybe sort of reframe this question a little bit, because this is actually a question that I get quite a lot from folks is, can I be a content strategist if I'm not a writer, or if I have not been a writer? The short answer is yes, right? A lot of the skills that you learn as a writer are applicable to content strategy, but that's not the only path to get into content strategy. And I will say, one more plug here for the course, which is that, the course isn't really built on any prerequisite skills. So if you're not a writer, if you're, a designer or some other, any other, whatever your background is, the course is sort of designed to help you learn all the skills that you need, without really requiring you to have any specific skills or knowledge up front. So it's possible to get into content strategy from pretty much any path, in my opinion. But again, being a writer does, in my experience, does give you a little bit of a leg up, because a lot of the writing and the research and that kind of stuff that you learn as a writer is sort of transferable into to the day-to-day work of a content strategist. Sure, will there be a recording? Hey, Ali, yes. The same link here on YouTube is going to take you back to, you can watch the recording. So you can feel free to rewind or fast forward or do whatever you need to do there to watch it. Friday night EST. Yes. Friday night EST. That's correct. Yep. Friday at midnight. Is the pizza framework something that I'm assuming you meant invented or adapted from somewhere else? I think, as far as I know, we invented this. I don't think anybody else has sort of developed this specific framework. That being said, it's really built on kind of three underlying uh, theories or frameworks. So one is sort of the way that topical authority works. One is the way that we think about and classify search intent. And the third pillar of the pizza framework is the funnel. So thinking about, top, middle, bottom of the funnel. And if we go back to that graphic, you can kind of see some of those elements there. But basically, the pizza framework is sort of combining those three elements into a single cohesive framework, and then translating that into a step-by-step workflow that kind of bakes all of that stuff into the strategy. How long does it take to complete the course? Is there a certification at the end? Christina, great question. The course is about 10 hours. Obviously, there's potentially some additional time there in terms of like actually executing the steps for the practice clients. But the course material itself is about 10 hours. I would say it's fairly short. It's 10 modules, so it's not a super monster. Is there a certification? There can be. I haven't added one, but I can add one. I know people like the certifications. I'm happy to do that. It's fairly easy for me to do on the platform, so I'm happy to add that. How do you think about convincing a client to choose you as a strategist since you don't have experience building strategies? Basically, how do you get the first person to say yes? Great question. I mean, again, I think that's the fundamental paradox of moving into strategy work. The short answer, I think, is that you need some kind of demonstrable experience, right? You need to be able to say, hey, here's an example of something I built. It would be more ideal if you could say, here's something I built and here are the results. But even if you can say, hey, look, this is the process I went through. I built this. This is the deliverable. This is what the strategy looks like. This is what you're going to get. I think that's going to get you most of the way there to getting a yes with your first client. And then I think it's persistence, right? I mean, it's just like any sales or prospecting. You're probably not going to get a yes on the first shot, but if you have some expertise or some experience that you can demonstrate to that client, that's going to get you most of the way there. Cool. Thanks. Thank you. Appreciate that. Hope you find it helpful. Feel free to reach out to me if you have questions or anything about the course. How updated is the course content? SEO is changing week by week, it seems. Daniel, great question. I literally have launched it this week, so the content itself is brand new. It doesn't really talk about AI with respect to SEO, so it's not going to cover sort of the latest stuff. But that being said, I think all of the practical workflows and steps and processes and sort of the underlying fundamentals are all up to date. I don't think there's anything in there that's outdated in terms of the changes that we're seeing in SEO. But again, just to be transparent, it does not talk about SGE or any of that stuff. It's not really focused on that portion of SEO at the moment. I like how multifaceted it is, covers all aspects. Oh, thank you very much, Navin. Appreciate that feedback. Well, I get redirected into the course if I opt into Mofu. Yeah, you'll get redirected to your Kajabi library, which will contain the course as well as all the other resources. I have a specific question. Suppose you want to pitch someone with a value-first approach to build trust. What do you think you can create for them to get them interested? Okay, so I assume by value-first approach, you mean you want to sort of offer some kind of like a lead magnet or something that you can do upfront to hopefully convert that person into a client or a customer. I think from a strategy perspective, if that's the sort of lens that you're thinking about this through, from a strategy perspective, it's easy to do sort of part of a strategy or like some research and be like, hey, here are some topics. Here's how we should build a specific portion of your strategy. Now, it's not going to be comprehensive, I would assume, but if you can come to the client and say, for instance, hey, I've got this really great idea for you for a topic cluster, and here's what it looks like. Here are the topics involved, and here's the content we need to create to build that topic cluster. First of all, I think that's a pretty small bite from a work perspective, and I would assume in most cases it's pretty compelling, right? Anybody likes sort of free strategic work or heavily discounted strategic work, depending on how you want to frame it. But yeah, I think that would be the way that I would go. Sneha, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Let me know if that answered your question or if you're thinking about it in a different way. I'm happy to take another crack at it. All right. Let's see. I think I got through all the questions. If you do have additional questions, again, about any of the 5 paths that we talked about the course, about content strategy in general, about freelancing, Tofu, any of that stuff, feel free to pop into the chat and do that. In the meantime, we do have about 9 minutes left here. So let me just give you a sneak peek. If you are interested in the Mofu option, there's some information on the website about what's included in there. But just to give you a quick sneak peek, as I said, there are about $4,000 worth of resources beyond just the course that you're going to get access to. All of these are sort of like one-off like trainings and templates and systems that you can use. So focus primarily on growing your business, right? So it's things like pricing, packaging, sales, operations, kind of all the behind the scenes stuff. There's some resources that are focused on other facets of content marketing and SEO, doing things like keyword research or prioritizing and optimizing content, that kind of stuff. But the majority of these resources are about the business portion. So actually building a sustainable and profitable business. Couple of the resources that I want to highlight here. One is a modular retainers system. So that's something that we use at Optimist to basically build sort of a long-term relationship with clients, where we have some flexibility to change our scope of work over time without having to kind of resell the client constantly on a new contract. It's worked really well for us over the years. I think it's a really good system, and it also kind of works really well, I think, with the evolving nature of content marketing and SEO, right? Because the reality of this kind of work is that, hey, this week I need new blog posts, but next week I need to update old blog posts. My needs are changing. And so if my scope is very rigid, my scope is, hey, you're paying me to write 3 new blog posts a week, then things get rocky or a little choppy when you have to then go back and say, okay, well, now if you want me to refresh content, we've got to sign a new contract. I've got to redo the pricing. I've got to do all this stuff. And so the modular retainer system is sort of a plug and play solution to that. So building a retainer where you can swap in and out deliverables and adjust those deliverables kind of on the fly based on the needs of the client, what's happening in the market, all the stuff that's shifting and changing constantly. You can adapt to that more quickly. The second thing, there's a high margin positioning system. So it's kind of a breakdown of like, how do you actually build positioning? That's another thing that I get a lot of questions about from folks is, how do I just stand out in the market? Like, I'm one writer out of 1 million, or I'm one strategist out of 1 million. How do I sort of set myself apart? So the high margin positioning system sort of starts with the fundamentals about like, what kind of business do you want and what do you want to be good at? And then sort of works outward from there to say, okay, here's how you want to communicate this to the market so that you have something interesting and unique and defensible that you're selling beyond just sort of the basic descriptors of the work that you're doing. Does the course have templates that we can download? Thanks for your question. Yes, there are a few downloadable. I think it's 5 or 6 downloadable components that come along with it and are included in the resources. Uh, Going back to the stuff that you're going to get inside Mofu, there's a sales and qualification workflow. I'm not kidding when I say this is like literally a copy and paste of our actual agency sales process that we use at Optimist. How we sort of pre-qualify and disqualify and qualify potential clients. Some of the specific tactical things that we do to try to make sure that the inquiries that we get are hopefully the best fit for our work and our services. The actual questions that we ask on the call to qualify those folks, that's all included in there. There's hiring workflows and job description templates. So if you're growing and you're interested in hiring folks or outsourcing some of your work to other freelancers, perhaps there's some workflows and processes that are going to help you there. There's a deep dive on the opportunity score model for prioritizing keywords and topics. That's also covered in the course, but the standalone resource kind of goes one level deeper there. The strategist training, which we're talking about right here. There's a productization course. So you may be familiar with James Sowers. He has a course called Productize and Scale. It's sort of about the operational aspect of building an agency or growing your freelance business, and how you can sort of productize the specific services that you provide to improve the efficiency, the profit margin, standardize the level of work, all of that stuff. So really super deep dive into things like documentation and SOPs and all that fun stuff. That course is normally $300. It's available for free for members of Mofu. Similarly, there's a GA4 training. So we talked about GA4. I still think that's a critical skill no matter which path you take. But GA4 training, you'll get access to Brie Larson's know and use the shit out of GA4 course, which is normally priced at $350. You will get, again, access to that for free as part of Mofu. So one more last mention here, bit.ly/levelupsfs, all lowercase. You're going to use that coupon code, which is level up. That's going to get you the discount. Again, whether you purchase the course directly, you're going to save $100, or if you purchase the membership, you'll get 34% off your monthly fees. And again, that discount will apply for as long as you're a member. So you're going to lock that price in. All right, y'all. We just have a couple minutes left. Any other questions for me? Any questions about the course, about Mofu, about Tofu, about any of the stuff that we got going on, or any of the paths that we covered in this workshop? Feel free to pop those in the chat. I'm going to take a drink. Love that question, Daniel. Not yet. Maybe in the future. We'll have Bofu. Yes, I do know that can be a little confusing, by the way. So just to clarify, in case it is not clear, the free community is called Tofu. Again, that's 100% free to join. If you're not already a member, pop over to jointofu.co. You can join us there. It's primarily based around Slack, but again, we host all these workshops, Q&As, that kind of stuff. Basically as programming for the community called Tofu. And then the subscription tier, Tofu Plus, if you will, is Mofu, right? So Mofu is you pay the monthly fee, you get access to the private community, the networking calls, all of these paid resources that are not available for the free community. All that being said, there's a lot of great content and conversation things happening inside Tofu for free. So even if you're not interested in buying the course or joining Mofu today, if you haven't already become a member of the free community, do it. I mean, it's awesome. We've got amazing people in there sharing feedback, answering questions, just helping each other out, work opportunities, all kinds of cool stuff going on in there. Okay, y'all. Well, we are down to about our last minute. I don't see any other questions coming in the chat, so I am gonna kind of wrap things up here. If you do have any other questions, the best way to reach me generally is through Tofu. So join in the Slack there. Feel free to ping me in the Tofu Slack with any questions you have. If you have questions about the course or this workshop or anything else that we went over, pretty much an open book. So feel free to reach out. Thank you again everyone for joining us today. I hope these paths were helpful for you. And if you do end up checking out the course or joining Mofu, I will see you in there. And just let me know if you have any questions, or I can be helpful in any other way. Once again, thanks, y'all. Hope everyone has a great day. Cheers.